Hello, planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730. I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations. As always, you've made your way to the Buffyngton Post. Today I'm back with another viewer-submitted top 5 episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Today we've got Jin, whose YouTube handle is Periwinkle Paisley, and I always enjoy getting your comments because I really like your icon, so good on you. So let's just get right into it. It's Jin's top 5 Buffy episodes.
Well, do you have money? No. Do you have money? Then I can wait for that.
Maybe you're not waiting another day. A little shock. What'll your mama say? Here we go anyway. Now we'll see what you got. Give it your own style. Give me a little smile. Everything's better now. Whether you're ready or not.
God, look at my hat. I didn't do it. Yeah, I could do with a better face.
Alright, Planet Earth, so for number 5, we've got The Pack. Jin says, The Pack because Nick Brendan doing evil Xander is pretty awesome. Principal Flutie and his pig are eaten by whacked out delinquents, and no one learned a very valuable life lesson unless you count stay out of the hyena cage. This was that episode that made me think I'd kinda love this show. Yeah, The Pack is a pretty fun episode, everything from, like you said, about Principal Flutie and the pig getting eaten, and also, we usually have Xander to kind of break things down into layman's terms for us, and here we actually have Giles just, when he hears what's going on with Xander, he says, yeah, well, he just sounds like a typical teenage boy. This episode really kind of stresses the importance of the Willow and Xander relationship, and how important those characters really are to one another, and it's always nice, the principals that come in. I like that we eventually get 3. It's kind of like this carousel of principals, so that was number 5. Number 4, Band Candy. Jen says, I didn't start watching Buffy until I was well into adulthood, with a bunch of tedious responsibilities. This episode looks like it'd be so much fun to be in, maybe minus the infant sacrifices. We get to see what Ripper Giles is really like, and Joyce hooking up with him. Snyder trying to hang with the Scoobies, the very kids he persecutes on a daily basis. And nobody notices that they're all old. Yeah, Band Candy is a lot of fun. Jane Espenson, she really loves to play with Joyce. If you've seen the, season 3 DVD interview with her, she talks about how much fun she really has with Joyce, and this is a really nice use of the Joyce character. It's nice to see her want to have fun, because when she's not being a bad mom, she's just kind of being a stick in the mud, and so it's always nice to have Joyce get flushed out a little bit more and have some more layers to her character, and the dynamic between Buffy and Giles, it's really kind of brought to the forefront, and so it is fun to see him, and especially the way that Ethan kind of reacts to him, and it's just a fun episode, and it's always nice to have the adults acting goofy in anything. So number 3, Spiral. Jen says, Spiral, in which we have Byzantium Knights chasing a Winnebago being driven by a vampire to help a mystical human key escape from a fashion-obsessed hell goddess, and it's not even a silly scenario. Slap a kick-ass fight scene on top of the moving Winnebago, and it doesn't get any more perfect than that. This is a pretty badass episode, and, I did my whole Buffy's a Murderer 2 Buffyverse discussion, and here we have Buffy murdering, some of the Knights of Byzantium, but that kind of falls under my bin argument of they're the bad guys. So, this is a really fun episode. A lot of really interesting things happen here. We've got, the newly crazy Tara going on. We've got Anya and her frying pan. Really good stuff. Willow, black eyes for the first time. Neat trick, Willow. And okay, so I was watching this on TV as the season was airing way back in the How Old Am I, right? So, when Giles was totally impaled in the Winnebago, I was just like, wait, what? So, this episode was really kind of, I thought that Giles could die. I didn't know that he was here to test that theory, right? So, this episode has a lot going on, and we get this moment between Buffy and Dawn where Dawn says, hey, I see you, and I appreciate everything you're trying to do, so thank you. And then, of course, it gets worse. So, good choice. Spiral's a fun episode. It just has a little bit of everything you could ask for. Oh, and this is the one where we finally get the whole skinny on what exactly is going on with Dawn. Like, we didn't know this whole damn time. They finally told us, so thank God. Number 2, lies my parents told me. Jin says, we discover that underneath the black leather, the platinum hair, and the awesome Fang Fu fighting skills, William Pratt is who Spike really is deep down. And while he may be man enough to admit he's Love's bitch, there is no way Spike is going to admit that he's so uncool that he sired his own mom. Alright, so hindsight's 20/20 and all that good stuff, and I've seen this episode, obviously, several times over, but okay, when this episode aired, and like I said, I was watching them when they aired, it really just felt like, okay, we have 6 episodes left, and they made a big to-do about it, and this is what we're doing with them, this kind of like throwaway Spike episode, and I realize it's not a throwaway, and it adds a lot of context to the relationship dynamics that Spike has with all the women in his lives, but I don't know, there's something kind of unfulfilling about this episode when you're discovering it for the first time. So, with everything as a whole, and knowing that the story goes further into the comic books, this episode is fine, but with it being so near to the end, it felt at the time, and I feel like maybe people coming into the show and seeing this for the first time, I feel like maybe they would feel the same way, that this was kind of a waste of an episode. Now, it's not fully. We, of course, get all the good stuff with Robin. And the really important part for this episode, in my opinion, is the dynamic between Giles and Buffy and how that shifts. And the way that Giles went about doing this is really what kind of disappoints Buffy and pushes her over the edge to say, I don't play like that, so you can find Faith to play with in Season 8. So this episode has a lot of stuff going on. For me, it doesn't personally work, but it's one of the more famous and talked about episodes, pretty much just because of Spike, right? Number 1. Jen says, my favorite episode of all has to be Dead Things. The writing was just amazing. It starts off all light with Buffy and Spike's pillow talk, although I might add it's kind of under rug talk, right? And some laughs at the trio playing at the comic book Evil Doing. Then it gets darker and darker, and before you know it, shit gets real. These geeks who have been a joke the whole time became genuine villains. We have the crypt door scene, which is arguably Buffy and Spike's most romantic scene ever, and they don't even touch or see one another. We have time-bending demons, Buffy being framed for murder, and a messed up dream sequence that's like, what? Buffy beats the crap out of Spike and he takes it, and Buffy finally realizes that her less than admirable behavior has been her choice all along. My only nitpick with this episode is that Katrina's murder could easily be solved by any forensics team with half a brain, but this is Buffy, not CSI, so I can let that go. Well, you're right about that. We're led to believe that Buffy and company are much smarter than the cops, right? But yeah, I thought this was a really interesting choice, and so I actually went back and watched Dead Things, and I see what you're talking about. This episode is very, very good. First of all, it gives Tara something to do, right? Something aside from Willow, something that keeps her in the mix and allows us to see this kind of budding relationship between, or a different relationship dynamic between Tara and Buffy that we get to see glimpses of, but of course is not fully explored because of Tara's whole, And also, we have this great scene between Buffy and Spike where she's just beating the shit out of him, and he takes it because he knows that Buffy can't deal with these feelings that she has for him, and this is her only way to kind of do anything about it, is to hurt him because she's trying to hurt herself, and it's just not working in the way that she would like. And the conversation here is so really, really interesting because Buffy obviously has these feelings for Spike. Whether or not at this point she loves Spike, we know that Buffy, or I feel that Buffy does love Spike. The problem, however, is what he is the fact that he doesn't have a soul. He really is exploiting Buffy's feeling of loneliness. And yes, Spike loves Buffy. He genuinely does, but due to this lack of a soul, he can't really comprehend what it is that's going on with Buffy. Love her as much as he may, his emotions can't work in the same way that Buffy's do. And so this is a big hurdle for Buffy. She she has these feelings for Spike. She does love him, but she knows that he loves her too, and those loves are not kind of what she would like to be the same thing. And in this episode, he says, "Come play in the dark with me. This is where you belong." But Buffy feels like she does belong there, and she doesn't want to belong there, and Spike understands that, and still he is feeding on this. And I feel like both sides of the Spuffy issue are really at a head here. And so this whole episode is really just thought-provoking, with the idea that Buffy would do this, would say, okay, I killed this person. It's like Buffy's own Bad Girls. She gets to be Faith here. We see pretty much the same thing that we saw in Bad Girls, but this time, rather than Buffy being shocked at Faith's actions, she's having to deal with her own, which goes back to the Spike thing. Buffy is really having to look at this thing and ask herself, what does this mean for me? What rules apply to me? Is it okay to use Spike in this way? And for that reason, this episode is just really great. And plus we have the whole crying at the end. Who doesn't feel bad for her there, right? So yeah, that's Jen/Periwinkle Paisley's top 5 episodes. If you'd like to submit your top 5 episodes, just leave them in the comment section down below and tweet a photo at me with your YouTube handle so I'll know who you are and show your beautiful face to planet Earth. I'm Preston L. Young. You can come right back here to the Buffyngton Post anytime for Buffy the Vampire Slayer comic reviews, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffyverse discussions, my continued Season 9 coverage. You can go back and get caught up on Season 8 as well. Hope you're having a great 2015 so far, everybody. Have a great day today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Well, do you have money? No. Do you have money? Then I can't wait for that.
Really or not, a little in shock. What'll your mama say? Here we go anyway. Now we'll see what you got. Give it your own style. Give me a little smile. Everything's better now. Whether you're ready or not.
God, look at my hat. I didn't turn it. Yeah, I could do with a better face.
We have the crypt door scene, which is arguably Buffy and Spike's most